Colleen Hoover, It Ends With Us, has captivated millions, but how well does the trailer convey the raw emotional complexity of Lily's story? Well, as a trauma therapist who's cried her way through the movie and is halfway through the book, I'm ready to share my thoughts. So let's dive in and see if the movie will do justice to its deeply impactful tale. If you're interested in this kind of content, I did a whole separate video on interpersonal violence warning signs and also resources. So check out those videos. I'll link them in the description. Let's check out the trailer.
Hey, Lily, you want to do the honors?
No, you go ahead. I need to take it in from here. Well,
All right, so I gotta say I love the entrepreneur tagline here. And, you know, Lily is grieving the death of her. Oh, let me just say spoilers. Spoilers everywhere. Lily is grieving the death of her abusive father, which, as a therapist, complicated grief is often the hardest one. And so she takes the money and she buys this flower shop.
You'd say that, okay? Oh my God. Oh, that's my brother, Ryle.
The first official customer?
Well, you'd have to buy something to be considered a customer. Right now, you're just loitering.
Okay, so I will say that the movie has been criticized for a little bit. Did it glamorize the, violence against women? I think that they were going more for the cycle that I often see in my practice, which is it doesn't start out bad. Often it starts out really good, and there usually is an intense chemistry. The love bombing happens. They fall in love right away, and often the abuser really pushes the relationship forward. And we see Ryle do this by wanting to meet her mom, by proposing, by sort of my sort of standard as a therapist is if someone wants to settle down like within 6 months, red flag. Okay, it takes time to vet the person.
We all have an idea of what love can be.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
That special connection.
Okay, so the author Colleen Hoover is a social worker, and she's kind of a controversial figure. I'm loving that she's bringing, important topics to the screen, and I think she writes it in a pretty good way, although she has been criticized for some problematic sort of relationships. She wrote a book about a teacher and a student. I will say as a therapist, you do hear it all. And so I feel mixed about this. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research into Colleen Hoover. I will say that so far, I feel like the dialogue is pretty good, and it does sort of fit the cycle that I often see show up in my office around these kind of things.
Feel that first kiss.
Okay, let me just say those abs, okay? In my other video, I was talking about control issues. Those abs, to me, are not even hot. They're control issues, okay? I understand in real life he's an actor. That's part of his job. But I will say that kind of physique, to me, you have to be extremely sort of disciplined and in control to get a body like that. So that's not necessarily clinical, but just I think it's a thing.
But 15 seconds. That's all it takes.
Oh, okay. Okay, some of these scenes are hard. I gotta be real. I'm getting a little emotional here. This scene is pretty hard in particular. And that line just gets me, like 15 seconds to change a relationship. That is a thing. And as you can see, I remember watching the movie and just being like, I trauma bonded with the girl next to me because we both cried through the whole thing, even though we didn't know each other. It was literally just like a stranger. But I think it is realistic. So like trigger warning, if you have lived through this, it could be hard to watch. It is a movie. It's meant to be entertaining, but I think really it has such a more powerful message that really kind of needs to be primary here. So definitely take care of yourself if you're watching it. If you need a good cry, when I saw it, I was PMSing and it was the full moon and it was just the perfect recipe for me to cry straight up. Plus, my 15 years as a trauma therapist, I wrote my dissertation on rape prevention. I have been a victim advocate. I've helped many women and heal and leave these kind of relationships. And so you can't always cry in session with people, but definitely this movie taps something deep inside of me. And I think it will be for you, whether you've had firsthand experience with it, whether it's intergenerational, or whether you just want to dodge it to begin with.
I'm so sorry.
So I just want to address a really common cycle with the interpersonal violence is there'll be this honeymoon period, and then there'll be tensions, and then there'll be sort of a walking on eggshells phase, and then there'll be a fight. And if it happens multiple times, this cycle leads into remorse or repair. I'm so sorry, I'll never do that again, followed by like a honeymoon cycle, followed by the cycle kind of repeating. And so I think that's what's really hard from outsiders to understand. It's like, why would you stay with that person who's hurting you? And there's this great line in the book that's the person that hurt me also was like the only person that could kind of make me feel better in that moment too, which is like, oh, double-edged sword, big time.
Atlas.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
What are you doing in Boston?
I opened my flower shop.
I still remember the day I saw you in the window.
Yeah, we were just kids then.
Is that...
Okay, so the young Lily, that actress was so good. She looks so much like her. I could not believe it. So the backstory here is that her first love kind of helped her through her parents fighting and being in a domestic violence situation, and he himself had been through that, and that's why he was homeless. And so they sort of have this trauma bond of both being children of domestic violence situations. So he feels protective of her, she feels protective of him.
Is that your guy?
Yeah, that's Ryle.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it's a very bittersweet sort of experience. And I think what I've seen as a witness to people who've gone through this is it's very high highs, very low lows. And that sort of keeps people in that trauma cycle.
You say to her, she came to you and said the person she loved was hurting her. What would you say to her?
It sounds like the ending of the movie deviated from the ending of the book. Like I said, I'm about halfway through the book, so I can't totally speak to that. But I will say I love the line of Alyssa in her, at least in the movie. She goes, as, his sister, I, hope y'all can work it out, but as your friend, like GTFO. So I kind of love that because, I can tell you as a therapist, it's all dialectics. We're all about conflicted emotions. So that's so common, and it just can be an emotionally confusing moment when we're going through these things. But I think breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma, it's that much harder if you've experienced that in your childhood, because at a certain way it was normalized, and that's what I think they do a great job sort of depicting here in the movie.
As hard as this choice is, we break the pattern, or the pattern breaks us.
Oh girl, I can't even with that. I've seen some patterns break some people, and I've seen some people break some patterns. I gotta say, as someone who has been a witness to the cycle, I think breaking the cycle, especially across the generations, is like the biggest gift that you can give yourself, the biggest gift that you can give your children. And as Jung says, nothing affects us more than the unlived life of our parents. So I gotta say, just seeing her break that pattern in the movie, again, I'm not quite sure how it ends yet in the book, was very powerful. And when I went to go see the movie, there was not a dry eye in the house. And I don't think there was a single man in the movie theater either. So again, I think sometimes, that's a microcosm of real life, but I'm really glad that this movie is out there. I think overall, it is Hollywood, so like it is what it is, but also I think that they got a lot of it right, and I think that they made it very like moving and empowering. Obviously, the books are always better. So if you've read the book and you don't like the movie, I totally understand that. I hear that as I'm reading the book. I get it. Like, it's just so much more nuanced. But I think they did a pretty good job with the movie, and I think it's worth a watch. So hope you enjoyed this Therapist Reacts. If you like more content like this, how to heal from trauma and abuse in a sort of fun, entertaining, pleasurable way, that's what this channel is all about, using mindset, energetics, and skills to move you forward. So if that sounds like you, check out my channel, give it a like and a subscribe. Have a good one. Bye.